Sleep isn't just a passive state where your brain shuts off and your body recharges like a phone. In fact, if your brain had a union, it would probably file a grievance over how hard it has to work while you're asleep. During those hours of apparent rest, your neurons are doing everything from filing memories and processing emotions to running diagnostics on your mental health software. When you consistently shortchange sleep, you're not just getting cranky, you're slowly dismantling your brain's ability to regulate emotion, remember important things, learn new information, and keep anxiety from running the show. Let's start with emotional control, or rather, the spectacular meltdown of it in the sleep-deprived brain. The prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for logical thinking, decision-making, and social restraint, takes a hit when you don't sleep. Meanwhile, the amygdala, the part of your brain in charge of detecting threats and firing off emotional responses, gets louder and more reactive. It's a bit like firing the air traffic controller and turning the volume up on the emergency alarm. As a result, everyday irritations start to feel catastrophic. A traffic jam? Deep personal betrayal. A passive-aggressive email? Instant rage. With poor sleep, your emotional thermostat breaks and everything feels either way too hot or ice cold. This isn't just moodiness, it's a neurological imbalance, one that can easily spiral into anxiety, depression, or just a persistent sense that the world is out to get you. Then there's memory, that beautiful, fragile system that turns daily experience into lasting knowledge, if you give it the chance. Sleep, especially deep slow-wave sleep and REM sleep, plays a critical role in memory consolidation. During slow-wave sleep, your brain replays patterns of neural activity associated with recent experiences and encodes them into long-term memory. During REM sleep, emotional memories are refined, contextualized, and, ideally, made less painful. If you don't sleep, these processes break down. You forget names, appointments, deadlines, where you left your keys, and sometimes even why you walked into a room. Students, in particular, pay the price. Pulling an all-nighter might let you cram facts, but those facts won't stay lodged in your long-term memory for long. You're more likely to wake up the next day knowing nothing and weeping quietly into your coffee. Learning capacity also tanks. Think of your brain as a sponge. Throughout the day, you absorb knowledge, but your sponge gets saturated. Sleep squeezes it out, clears space, and resets your capacity to learn the next day. Without sleep, your ability to absorb new information drops sharply. You may still be awake, physically present in the classroom or meeting, but your brain is basically buffering like a bad internet connection. The hippocampus, the brain's learning hub, goes semi-offline without proper rest, and the signal to store new knowledge gets garbled or lost entirely. In this sense, sleep isn't just restorative, it's preparatory. It primes your brain to function, engage, and actually remember what happened. As for stress resilience, sleep is essentially your brain's emotional shock absorber. A good night of rest helps you bounce back from setbacks, tolerate ambiguity, and resist the urge to scream into the void. When you're well-rested, your stress response system, especially the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal (HPA) axis, is more regulated, with cortisol levels following a predictable daily curve. But with sleep deprivation, cortisol spikes erratically. Your body stays stuck in fight-or-flight mode, like you're being chased by a bear, even though you're just trying to assemble an IKEA bookshelf. Chronic sleep loss, in this way, erodes your psychological armor and leaves you vulnerable to everything: workplace drama, personal conflict, existential dread triggered by a song on the radio. It's not that life gets objectively harder, it just feels harder because you've lost the buffer that normally lets you cope. And let's not forget the cumulative effect. The longer you go with poor sleep, the more these issues compound. Mood disorders like depression and generalized anxiety become more likely. Burnout arrives faster and hits harder. Even psychotic symptoms, paranoia, hallucinations, delusional thinking, can emerge after prolonged sleep deprivation, which is a deeply concerning fun fact for anyone who thinks 4 hours of rest and 5 lattes is a sustainable lifestyle. In the end, sleep isn't a luxury or an inconvenience to squeeze in between deadlines. It's the central operating system for emotional regulation, cognitive clarity, memory strength, and mental health. You can meditate, take supplements, go to therapy, and drink green juice, but if you're skipping sleep, you're trying to run a marathon with your shoelaces tied together. If your brain were a machine, sleep is the reboot, the antivirus scan, and the software update, all rolled into one. Without it, expect glitches, crashes, and that charming mental spiral where you forget your Wi-Fi password and question the meaning of life, all before 10 a.m. Sleep isn't laziness. It's strategy. Ignore it at your peril, especially if you like your sanity.